Interesting. This project, I'm aware, is of a real story, and the real story is an absolute tragedy. But what I'm going to focus on today is much more for drama teachers to focus on, because it just shows that when we do these projects, in some episodes, it's kind of come over as though we just did them, they were easy, and that's not the case. I remember I'm just researching a book about writing the Graham Salmon play, and even back in that first play, we struggled, we had difficulties. And the things that I've uncovered here showed that we did go through this period of great difficulty with the play, and it's quite interesting to explore that. So, my lovely golden cast, and here they are: Rachel, Darren, Chalky, and Kate, and me there directing this gift of a tragic story. And we'd done our performances in October at Oakland's. We'd had stunning reviews. I read the Ben Clarkin review, and I'd had the play published, and it had gone around to schools. It was attracting interest. Still, there was a question about the title. I can see at some point we called it "One Laugh Still Missing," but we decided against it, and we'd gone with Dan Nolan. We'd had fantastic reaction from Dan's family. There's Pauline and Greg, Dan's mum and dad. And Pauline talked to the newspapers after the performances and said about it: the interviews were very in-depth, but Mark was very sensitive in how he worked with us on the play. It has been difficult, and when we've been talking about what happened, it takes you right back to that evening, even though for me it still only feels like yesterday. There is a scene when Dan has a conversation with Greg before he goes out, and it's strange to hear Darren saying Dan's words. Darren, who was aged 17, also talked to the press about doing a play like this, and he said, "When we've had his mum and dad watching, it's been really hard, and I've just been hoping that they're happy with what I'm doing. I was given videos of him when he was younger, and that has been a great help for me to see what he's like." Interesting, I hadn't remembered that had happened. So we'd had these great reviews, we'd got this golden ticket, we were planning to enter drama festivals, so we kept it kind of on the go. And my heavens, we were invited to perform at a Service of Hope for Dan, which was on the 1st of January 2003, which was on the anniversary of his disappearance. We didn't perform the play. What we performed was the short section that appears in the script as a deleted scene. It's Connor's story about Dan. And it's a beautiful little scene. Have a look at it in the book. What an amazing thing to be invited to perform at such a sensitive occasion. And it shows you something of the relationship we had both with the family and the feelings they had towards us. In January, we put it on again at our school. There was a lot of demand to see it, and we got reviewers to come again. They wanted to come in. So this was a drama reviewer from the local paper. And again, I keep praising the local paper because they provided reviewers to review us. And these reviews were independent views, opinions, and allowed us to get our work out there. And you'll see on the back of the books, Jan Foster often is quoted. Here, we began to have a slight criticism arise. Occasional indistinct diction and slightly rushed dialogue apart, all four actors drew on the emotions beyond their years. They held their audience captive. I hope plans to show this most moving of plays to a wider audience can be achieved. I've said before that I thought that people in Southampton have this kind of way of speaking where they drop T's, drop consonants, and it was just something that I glossed over. I'm sad I did. During this project we stopped doing that, but it made no difference. That I didn't listen to it. And then the Hampshire Chronicle were, well, here's what they say. This play, whilst emotionally charged, struggles to rise above predictable soap opera. Another drawback is with a chronology that dances between past and present. Every emotionally charged moment feels like a natural conclusion to the play. When the curtain does fall after 60 minutes, it feels like ending number 4. Warwick Payne, not great. The writing was on the wall, and we went off to the festival. We were still super confident. We were kind of saying, that's not right, that's not right. We entered the Totton Drama Festival, with whom we'd had a fantastic relationship. We 100% expected to win. We really were very, very confident. So much so, I'm aware in something that comes up later, we didn't rehearse during the week. Fatal. The written adjudication, we get a written adjudication. I've highlighted some points which maybe it'll be interesting to hear. This is a very unusual play, with all the words in it coming directly from the people involved. Verbatim theatre at this point wasn't a popular thing. It was an unusual thing. The author has very cleverly, thanks, worked this material into a revealing and moving piece of theatre. Thanks again, good for me. Whose performances, given with the blessing of the parents, is hoped may jog a memory or two, or at least serve to alert young people to the importance of sticking together, which was a big point, when they're out, especially after dark. Then they talk about the set. The poster are set and costumes. The poster at the back dominated the set the way it should, and the minimal props were all that was needed. The lettered T-shirts, which said Dan Nolan and a picture of him, were a good idea, though sometimes slightly obscuring the character being created by not providing any characters with other characters or with a previously assumed character. The 4 actors were multi-rolling. Perhaps having the wording on display like that was too prominent, though of course with a constant reminder of the subject of the play, and that's really what we wanted. We couldn't afford to change that, so it didn't get changed. The drum and instrumental rhythms was good. They were well and atmospherically played, but sometimes a little too prominently. And then the summing up at the end. This was a true group performance, with all the participants working very well. Their movement and stage positioning was often excellent. The whole effect was only spoiled by the too frequent tendency to rush words and to make them difficult to hear and understand. And the words in this play have a deep importance, being those of the real people themselves. Pauline and Joe, Dan and D.S. Stewart, Andy suffered particularly at times from the tendency to rush through speeches and sentences. We were really being picked up strongly on our diction. And of course, if you can't hear a play, how can you possibly enjoy a play? The results came in, and we were used to being up in the higher echelons. We were second to bottom. That's something we hadn't expected. I could see my golden cast, you can see them here smiling. We had fun. That's the thing I remember. We were, well, I was devastated. We went to our separate homes, so I don't know what they thought. I came home, and clearly there was a conversation between myself and Danny Sturrock, who by this point had left school, but rejoined the youth theatre, not only as a director, having done gagging for it the previous year, and I might add, being listed in the programme, having won so many awards, and we didn't. But he and I obviously had a conversation by email, and for some reason I've kept it. I'm just going to read you through some of it. It's fascinating to hear what I was thinking. Thanks, Danny. This is a lovely thought and a really spirit-raising set of words. I was gutted. Kate and Darren not being nominated proved a little divisive, and for me to be in the same boat as those two, I wasn't nominated either for Best Director, was in the end a good thing for us all. So clearly Rachel and Alex had been nominated. None of us got any awards. Danny at some point must have said, I think everyone has given 110% on this. And I go on to say a lot. It goes on for 3 pages. I'll do extracts. No, here I disagree. You haven't been at recent rehearsals. There has been little desire to make what is good better. Some of them have been particularly poor at moving it on, and possibly I have not had sufficient confidence in my own abilities to move it on further, to demand the extra time when we all, including me, would have to make other sacrifices. To put it bluntly, I've become lazy with it. In many ways, selfishly by getting it published, I have achieved what I wanted with it on a personal level, and also I was so confident. Prior to the bit and part performance, I met with strong resistance to rehearsing from the cast, and I allowed that to win. I wasn't strong enough or a perfectionist enough with the upside to me being that I also had more free time when in the summer holidays I'd spent so much time writing the thing. The rehearsals came for the most part just going over what we had done to check we could still do it. The argument on the performance night was a kind of final straw to me, and I felt I lost a lot of power then. I don't know what that argument was about, but clearly there was one. It seems word learning is the only thing the cast feel they need to do. They all have busy lives with other things, I get that. Hopefully, the adjudicator's comments are making people question. It certainly has done that to me. I feel I've let everyone down, but it ain't all my fault. We have not managed to impress on drama terms. I'm so keen not to damage the little glass package, and again, this picture kind of says it all. The smiling faces. It was so important to me to keep that going. I'm so keen not to damage that little glass package I feel we all have in this play and in our group. I don't think it could withstand being stamped on at this point in time. Someone I spoke to was really shocked that we weren't rehearsing last week. I was pretty cool about that, but it has now made me think. By the way, Danny, your lights were brilliant, and the floor lights that you made a fuss about were well worth all that fuss. We had another festival the next week, and we also planned to enter the drama festival at Woking, which is the biggest one in the UK. We had to make some really big decisions about what we were going to do, and you'll see whether we managed.